Welcome to another Rugby League Down South podcast. This week, Broncos captains past and present. I talk to the exited Craig Gower and also new captain Tony Clubb. Gower tells me London Broncos are in somewhat of a good shape. Clubb tells me he never thought he'd be good enough to be considered a captain. We hear as well from Medway Dragons ahead of their stampede event, which of course includes the Broncos On The Road game as part of it, and also about the women's Varsity rugby league game, which takes place on Monday. If you want to interact with the programme anytime during the week, email anytime rldownsouth@gmail.com. You can get me on Twitter @Ian Ramsdale or use the hashtag RLDS for Rugby League Down South. Anne sent me a message on Twitter @Ian Ramsdale saying no shortage of stuff to talk about this week, is there? Sad to lose Growler, but maybe Broncos players aren't so sad. Yes, the big news this week that former Broncos captain Craig Gower, 5 days after standing down as the captain, has left the club. A club statement said he's left for personal reasons to go back down under. Michael on Twitter said gutted, best player by a mile. He scored at the weekend too. He's going to be playing at Newcastle Knights in the NRL. The big question though is how did this all happen and why? It's those and a few more questions that I put to Craig Gower himself.
Oh no, we just, there's some personal reasons why we're leaving. My wife's actually having a baby in 7 weeks' time, so obviously it's come around quickly, and that's why we had to move quickly. How
come you stood down as captain last week as well? I mean, is that in any way linked to your decision to move on now?
We thought that we could stay, and I thought that it'd be it might be better just to stand down so Tony could take the reins. That's the way it eventuated.
And how do you feel about sort of how the last few weeks have all come about?
Yeah, well, obviously it's very disappointing to leave halfway through a season. You don't really want to do that, but unfortunately that's how it's occurred, and the guys understand that.
How had you found your time at the Broncos? Had you enjoyed it?
I had a fantastic time at the Broncos. I would have loved to stay, but unfortunately that wasn't the way it panned out, and to leave the guys halfway through a season, for me that's the most disappointing thing. But unfortunately, that's the way things go sometimes, and you just got to move on.
I mean, it's been a difficult season, hasn't it? I guess you'd have wanted to have won more games, but it did seem that you were doing what you could to help that.
Yeah, I try and play well, but at the end of the day, we're a team, and unfortunately, our results haven't been where they should be. We've made a little bit of a cup run, and they're in the quarterfinals, but on a consistency level, we haven't been up there.
And so, I mean, do you know much about your future and where you're heading? You're obviously going back down under. I think people have said that your agent's in conversation with Newcastle Knights. Have you got a future sorted yet?
Yes. I'll be playing at Newcastle. So I'll return home on Monday morning, and I'll be training with Newcastle on Tuesday.
And how do you feel about your time in London, sort of reflecting on it now?
Oh, it's fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed being at London. It's considering, our results haven't been good. We've got a great bunch of kids coming through the system. They've done a fantastic job with their development program, and they'll continue to do that. They just need to a bit of structure about where they're going to be next year. Unfortunately, that hasn't been finalised yet, and it's up in the air, and I suppose it's tough to run a club when that happens.
And what do you think of the Broncos as a club? Because they're obviously cut off from the rest of the league, and I guess it's quite a nomadic existence, really, in terms of like the profile that they have and that you have in the capital. I mean, what have you made of the Broncos' sort of existence in Super League?
Yeah, I don't think that. I think actually it should rely more on the RFL to help the organisation out. London's obviously it's a big place, and there's a great market for it there. So it just needs plenty of work and plenty of hard work in that, and obviously it takes you need a lot of money to do that as well.
You talk about the development and the players that are coming through as well. It's good to see that, but what do the Broncos need to do to make sure they compete at the top level?
It's just about it's a consistency thing for us. It's it's playing for 80 minutes defensively. I think our attack's fine. You can always tinker with your attack, but defensively we've got to be stronger. And I know the guys are working hard to rectify their deficiencies.
And a quick word on the new captain in Tony Clubb. What have you made of him and working with him over the last 18 months?
Yeah, Tony's a great guy. He's obviously from London, and he wears his heart on his sleeve, and he's going to be a very good leader. So he knows the system. He's got respect from the other guys, and he's been there and done it. He's played for England. It's a good challenge for Tony as a player, and to gain obviously to help him grow as a player as well.
And you think he's got the right qualities to be a captain and a leader? Yeah,
definitely. The way he plays, he's a tough competitor, and I know the boys will get behind him and help him out.
How did you feel at the weekend to get a try for yourselves? I mean, at that point, did you think it might have been your final game for Broncos?
No, I didn't think that at all. That all eventuated probably Monday, on Monday actually. Eventually on Monday, and that was sort of a tough game because after stepping down, I just knew I had to go and try and play well, and the score, and scoring doesn't mean everything during a game, but it was good to get across the line, and unfortunately we didn't win the game. We drew the game when we should have won the game, so it was at the end of the day it was a disappointing day.
And you're going down to Newcastle now. People had talked about, the talk had been that you'd be playing for Italy in the Rugby League World Cup back in this country at the end of the year. Any particular stance on that? Will that still be happening?
Yeah, that'll still happening. There's a lot of guys in Australia that'll be playing for the Italian side. So, the only difference, I'll be just playing in Australia instead of here.
But looking forward, I'm sure, to coming back and playing in the World Cup.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can't wait for it. It'll be a good experience. I've played in one before with Australia, so it'd be good to come back and experience that again.
So those then the thoughts of Craig Gower of now no longer a London Bronco, was released from the final 18 months of his contract, was meant to be around for next season as well in 2014, so big shoes to fill and a big hole of which you'd have thought some replacement is needed. I think at the weekend Mike Bichet was given a good run, and potentially he's been looked at. I think Luke Dawn is going to come into the halves sort of in the immediate future, but the Broncos now need someone, a big marquee player, someone who can fill the shoes of Craig Gower. Had we seen the best of Craig Gower in the time that he'd been there? A lot of people say he worked hard, but did we see the best from him? Did he fit in well? I mean, a lot of people said he was very impressive with a lot of the stuff he did. He's very talented, isn't he? But I just wonder whether potentially we didn't necessarily see him at his best. I don't know your thoughts though. On Twitter at Stephen saying Gower and Rinaldi were my favourite recent players. Better not choose another one in case they leave. Yeah, thanks for that, Stephen. On Twitter at Ian Ramsdale. Darren saying with Sam Tompkins supposedly off to the NRL, I think Wigan may want Dixon for his speed. I don't know whether there's but I'm sure plenty of people would want Kieran Dixon in their side to sign a contract extension, didn't he, during the year? So I'm not sure quite how this will go. Although, again, we've seen with Gower, people can get released from their contracts in certain circumstances. Matt saying, I'm not too fussed, really. A team like ours needs serious pace at 6, 7 and 1. Gower's only useful with quality players all around him. Richard saying who can blame him really, although he should try and have to pay to watch it. Harsh stuff from Richard. Ian saying, to be honest, I'm not surprised. A worrying state of affairs first team wise for the Broncos. Who's this? Ed saying if one or three of Gower's teammates trained as hard as his attitude toward the game, then Broncos wouldn't be bottom. Tim saying real shame, Broncos linchpin and made the team take back to the NRL and linking up with Bennett. You can't blame him. And Scott saying sad news for Broncos, but us Sheffield lot smell blood for the Challenge Cup quarter final. Interesting to see that they're latching on keeping a close eye on what's happening at the Broncos are the Sheffield Eagles fans, and rightly so as well. But some news we missed out on last week, as I record and publish this podcast on a Wednesday evening, was the news of the change of captaincy. Tony Clubb appointed as the new captain on Thursday, and by leading the side out against Castleford at the weekend, became the first London-developed player to be the permanent captain of the side. I caught up with Clubby today and thoroughly enjoyed our chat, as you will hear. I hope I have taken out the couple of swear words that were dropped in there, but apologies if I've missed any, but I think there are only 3. I only remember taking 2 out, so you might be able to spot one. I'm not sure. Couldn't find it when I listened through for the second time. But we started our chat about how he feels to be currently and now captain of London Broncos.
I'd just come back from sort of seven and a bit weeks off, and then been told I was going to be captain, so it was a bit more pressure on me. But no, it was good to be back, and good to be having a good run out with the boys. Just tell me about the moment where you were told, or you were asked, I guess, maybe if you wanted to be captain, and how you felt at that point. It was a bit of a silly one, really. Me and Matt Cook were messing about downstairs, and Tony goes, "Oh, can I see you both?" And I said, "Oh, he's going to ask you to be captain, mate." And we were just messing about, sort of thing. And he went upstairs and he just said, like, "All right, and I said, "Yeah, good." He goes, "I want to make you captain." So it was a bit of a shock, but on the other hand, it was a proud moment for me and my family there. So, but like I said, it was a bit of a shock, really. You said at that point, you thought it was going to, Matt said, he's going to appoint you the captain, but at that point you knew that Craig wasn't your captain at that point. I did, yes. I knew, and we knew we found out that morning there that Craig had stood down, and he openly come out and told us all that he was standing down, and so we didn't really know what was going on. And then following training later that day, they asked me to be captain. So it was a decision made by sort of Tony and all them upstairs. So I happily accepted, and like I said, it was a proud moment for me and my family there. Is it something that you'd thought about, in your rugby league career, being the captain of the London side? Not really. Like I said to a few people, I've never seen myself in that light, because I was always messing about, and, I still think it's funny pulling down people's pants, and, and that's just how I was, and I never saw myself in that light. I went out on the field and did my job, and that was it. And, they all assumed that I would be good enough to be captain, because, like I said before, I've never captained any team at any age. This is the first time I've ever been captain. So, like I said, it was a bit of a shock, really. Did it feel different at the weekend to be walking out as captain? A little bit, I suppose, but like I said, it was more just, more worried about sort of my knee and, just chewing up the minutes and getting on my job, really, than worrying about sort of who leads the team out, who doesn't, sort of thing, and just doing my job as well as I can, more worrying about being a captain, because I wasn't, I'm only on the field for 40 minutes, so Michael Witt takes over after I come off, so it's, I don't really get to do much, so. What's your style of captaincy? It's probably a bit of an unfair question after one game, but I mean, you've obviously played under a couple of captains. Rob Purdham springs to mind. You've just been under Craig Gower. What did you take from them, or being the captain? Was there anything that you thought, I like the way they did certain things, I like what they did, and I'm going to try and do it that way? No, not really. I just tend to be myself. Nothing changes from me. And as of before, I'll always give them my all, and I will tell them that. And but Purd was always a good leader, because nothing changed from Purd. He was still one of the boys, and similar to Craig, But I want to be my own captain, my own person, and I'll put my own spin on things. And hopefully, everyone buys into it and gets on the back of me, because, like what I said to Tony, I said, I ain't got a clue what I'm doing. It's just, I'll get to talk to refs, and that's about it for me, and it's, like I said, nothing changes for me. Like I said, I'm still the same old person that likes to joke about and, pull down people's pants and thinks it's dead funny, so it's just the same old job, really.
So is that what you said to Tony when he asked you to be captain? You said, I've got no idea what I'm doing.
Well, pretty because on captain's run and things like that, that's taken by me in person, so I will do the whole session. And I said, I don't really know what to do. And the day before we did it, me and Tony spoke about it, what we're going to do and what he wants us to do and things like that. And, I did it, and it's pretty easy. But as of before, where I listened to someone else for so long, and, I got told what to do, and now I'll tell them what to do. So,
you say that nothing changes from your point of view, and you mentioned that with Purdom, sort of that's a nice thing to keep the consistency throughout the team. But do you find anything in you changing in a way? Now you are the captain. Did it make you in any way concentrate on your own game or your own things, or was it literally no change?
Pretty much, sort of no change from me. Like I said, I was just coming back from 7 weeks off, so I was just sort of more worried about, getting through the game, like unhurt, and sort of trying to get some more minutes through me and things like that, because I know the boys will do their job, and it was a bit more pressure on me, you know what I mean, but no, nothing changes, it's just I'll go out there, I'll do my job, and if I do my job well, people get on the back of it and the team goes well, so it's, like I said, nothing really changes from me. I don't, I'm not going to change into a completely different person or anything like that. It's just, I'll still go around pulling down people's pants and, putting DP in their pants and like that, and think it's dead funny. But, that's just me, I suppose.
It was an entertaining game at the weekend, a tense finish as well. How disappointed with the side to come out of it with, I say only a draw, but with a draw?
Yeah, we were, we were really disappointed there. It was an hard one, like to take, because we were so dominant for so long, and like what I said to the boys after the game, we thought that we had done enough to win when there was still 20 minutes to go. We thought we had done enough to win, and they come back and bit us on the arse there, And I think we all pretty much know what Rangi Chase can do. And, he did it, and they got a draw out of it, so they would have been happy. And we were massively frustrated and disappointed in ourselves. But Tony got us in pretty much the next day, and we fixed a few things up, and we had a chat there, and hopefully we'll get it right for Warrington there. So
it must be difficult though with a game like that, because like you say, it must feel to you more like a defeat than a draw, really. From the position that you held. But I guess you don't want to be reflecting on those games later in the year and thinking, if only we'd have hung on for that one.
No, definitely. That's a good thing about this sport. We've always got next week there, So we'll crack on and get on with it. We've got a tough team. We can't sit there and think about what happened at Cass there. We've got to worry about Warrington that's coming to us. So, we'll get on with that. We'll get our jobs done, and we'll keep working hard and have a good time down there in Gillingham, and hopefully come away with a win. That's what I spoke about this week. That's we need to win. It's you've got to have a winning mentality. You can't just be happy with being 14 points in front. Because any team can bring back 14 points like it showed on the weekend, especially with a good team like Warrington, because they'll pull more back and they'll beat you.
That's it. You mentioned it doesn't get any easier, does it, with Warrington this weekend? It goes without saying, doesn't it, how good they are and the calibre of their players. But for you, it's a game on the road, down at Gillingham. How does squad looking forward to potentially another game down there?
Yeah, definitely. we enjoyed it last time down there. We had a good turnout of people, and it's the boys enjoyed it. So it's like I've tried sort of saying to them, it's still a home game for us, treated that way. And there's going to be a bit more of an atmosphere, a bit more of a crowd. That'll get behind us, and it's like I said, it's a great chance for us to beat one of the good teams. Then we've got the week off there, and then we're going into a tough month. We got Wakefield away, we got Catalan away there, and we've got a few other good teams there, and it's. If we go in off a loss with a week off and things like that, it's tough to get back on the All-Star. But if we get a good win, it just makes it a bit easier for us, And
it's down your neck of the woods, isn't it? Down Gillingham way?
Yeah, that's it, mate. That's where gods are made down there. And but yeah, no, I'm sort of 10 minutes round down the road there, and like what I said to Tony, it'd be real nice to lead the team out in front of my family there, and it's going to be a good day. So, like I said, it'd be nice to get a win off the back of it, and I'll be leading by example and hoping that we do.
You got a lot of family coming down there?
Yeah, I have. I've got about sort of 30 family and friends coming down. So it'd be nice to sort of run out in front of them and, like I said, get a win in front of them, and then I can just drive 10 minutes home, so I ain't going to come all the way back up here.
And what have they made of you being captain as well? They must be proud as well.
Yeah, definitely. They're all proud, and they're all behind me there, and supporting me in every way they can. And just like what I've said to you, just don't change as a person. I know I'm captain there, but still be the same old person that I was before. That made people want to pick me as a captain. So they keep me pretty grounded, to be honest with you. So it's quite nice.
Well, I've just spoken with the former captain, Craig Gower, and I asked him about your leadership and the potential of you being captain, and he gave you his full backing and said you've got exactly the qualities that you need. How nice is it to hear that?
Yeah, it's, when Craig gave it up, he and I said that I was going to step in and be captain, he had some nice words to say then too. And it's nice to hear it from someone that's done everything they can in rugby and rugby league there, So it's nice of him to say nice things about me, and I will definitely do my best for London and the team there.
It was a great chat with Clubby. Enjoyed that, very much fun. Captain and leader then at Tony Clubb of the London Broncos. And to be fair, from what he says, it sounds like he's doing well at the moment. He's doing well, and we wish him all the best for the future. I did have a couple of messages as well on Twitter about his immediate future and whether there'd been interest from other clubs. And I think, like many players, really, there's often interest from other areas. Clubb is under contract for 2014. I think my opinion is he'll be at the Broncos next year, and after that, who knows? You can never really say, can you, about any players in particular. Could be a big, very important year, couldn't it, 2014, for the London Broncos for many, many reasons. But yeah, I would be very surprised. I've read of interest in Tony Clubb, and I have heard of interest in Tony Clubb, but under contract for next year. So I would expect to see him at the Broncos in 2014. After that, well, I think we'd have to review the situation, wouldn't we? No doubt the same that he will next season. Also, I had some news about Chad Randall last week, which is why I didn't publish the chat that I'd had with him on the programme at the request of the club. I kept it back. If you've not seen it, it'll be on the club website now. If you have seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. If you're listening to this podcast before 2 o'clock on Thursday, then neither, because the news won't have been published yet. But interesting news about Chad Randall this week. Now, Chad Randall has captained the side, hasn't he, in the past? And this programme's turning into something of a captain special. So I mentioned it on Twitter, saying, anybody fancy a mention for their captain? St Albans Centurions replied with, our captain, Rob Holbrook, certainly deserves a mention for being northern and having a tooth missing, if nothing else. that was it. So Rob Holbrook of St Albans Centurions, your captain. I hope you listen to the programme, and I hope somebody tells you of it, and you can have a listen if not. Also this week, the Broncos single official on the road game takes place this weekend. Of course, they've already been to Esher, haven't they? And to Wickham through circumstances out of their control. But some interesting stuff in this interview too. Of course, Broncos play Warrington at Gillingham's Priestfield Stadium on Saturday, the climax of what is the second stampede event, as the Medway Dragons call it. After the success of last year's event, the stories about a permanent move of the Broncos down to Gillingham surfaced, and they were accurate too. So will the same happen this year? Broncos are looking for a new home. Is there still the potential that they will move to Gillingham for 2014 and beyond? Many questions then to be put to the former head coach, now part of the management team at Medway Dragons, in Martin Coyd. Worth pointing out that he's obviously not particularly involved with Gillingham Football Club. He's only, I wouldn't even say an intermediary. He's just obviously a man who knows what's happening at Medway Dragons and knows a lot about rugby league in that particular area, so has been I wouldn't say involved in discussions. He's not even that. He's just been knowing what's been happening in the region where, he's run a rugby league club in the last few years. But we got on to various topics, and initially he told me about him looking forward to what will hopefully be another few successful days down in Gillingham.
It was successful in 2012, so more of the same, and I'd like to see a mixture of people coming back who enjoyed it last time, and new faces as well. And it starts Friday night with a wheelchair game.
Yep.
Medway Dragons against Swindon St George, who are a brand new club this season. So new ground there.
Mm.
And then Saturday morning we've got a primary rugby league festival with 6 clubs taking part, playing a new style of rugby league for the first time, which is very much aimed at focusing on skills for young people and maximising young fun.
Okay.
We have a Masters competition on the Medway Dragons main pitch, with teams coming from Lancashire and Yorkshire and the Royal Air Force and the South Coast. And then finally over the road at Medway Park we've got a round of Junior League as well. And this is all before 2 Broncos games with the 19s at I think 12:30, and then the Broncos versus Warrington in the Super League at 3 o'clock.
Before I go on and ask you about a few more of those, just clarify that primary rugby league festival. You say it's a new style of rugby league. Is this something new that you've invented, that Medway have invented, or is this a new thing across the game for primary age kids?
It's very much across the game, and it's a new way of thinking about what we do. And the easiest analogy I can give is that England football is poor internationally compared to, say, Holland and France and Spain. And we know that what they do is they keep young people playing small-sided games with maximum number of touches on the ball, and they don't really get onto big pitches until they're quite old. And rugby league in England, we've sort of get the young kids to play 13 aside and tactical games, when really we just be catching, passing, running, learning how to tackle properly, and all sorts of decision-making skills and movement skills. So that it's still rugby league. You still have to pass backwards, but it's really focused on the skills. And a great law or a great way of playing at under 9 is, if you knock on, your team still gets to complete the set of 6, because it's really important you complete your set, because you can learn while doing that.
Okay.
Rather than watching the opposition running at you again.
Yeah. No. It sounds, I guess, not necessarily invention, but it sounds like a great way of, like you say, teaching the kids and showing them the importance of various values of the game.
When you go through it, and we had Martin Rockwell down from the RFL, and he's down tomorrow to help us launch it. It's so obvious. Why didn't we think of this before? For example, in a game, you play lots of small-sided games, and you must have a different dummy half in every game.
Yeah.
So everybody gets to go at that particular skill, and we move players around, and we don't just necessarily give it to the big kid or the fast kid.
Sounds great. And this question may well it precedes a wider question, but I see that some of your under-14s, under-16s have helped carry the posts, have they, to the Priestfield Stadium this week?
Yeah, Gillingham Football Club don't have rugby posts, so the Broncos and Gillingham asked the Dragons if they could help us out, and with really great community spirit, our host, the Royal School of Military Engineering, said you can loan ours. So last year we took them down on a scaffold lorry, and we're trying to work out how to get them back, and I came up with the idea of challenging the under-14s. We do it in the safest possible way with lots of adults around, but they have to. We put them into teams, and they have a section of the post each, and they have to get the hardware back to the garrison where it belongs.
They don't race through the streets, do they, Martin?
Yeah, they do. They race through the streets of Gillingham with rugby posts on their shoulders.
Fantastic. Sounds great. And I was just going to say, obviously, there's a lot of people involved at Medway at the weekend, and I just wondered why rugby league is so popular in Medway. How come there is so many people that like the game and that interact with the game and that are involved in the game there, as compared to maybe other areas in pockets around London?
I believe it's part of the culture of the club, which is something for everybody, and everybody can belong. It doesn't matter what your ability is. Winning is not necessarily the scoreline at the end. It's just about improving in what we do. The coaches rotate the players. We don't always start with our best team. Everybody gets a go. We celebrate it when lads go off to the Broncos. Not necessarily that they've been selected for the Broncos, but because it gives somebody else a chance. The coaching culture is very, very positive, and we've invested a lot of time, money, and especially volunteer efforts in the coaching skills and coaching culture about learning and fun. And we make as many people as we can well. I think there's probably also some demographics around it as well. The Medway Towns was a pretty tough naval, merchants and Royal Navy, heavy industrial conurbation until the mid-80s when dockyard closed, so maybe there's a bit of that as well.
I was going to say, is there an element of geographical nature about it? Because, I mean, presumably that model, or certain parts of that model, would work and help elsewhere around London at other clubs. That can't be just unique to Medway.
No, and there are great examples at other clubs around London. And we had a fabulous cup finals day, happened to be at Medway Park a couple of weeks ago, and we came within a whisker of 5 different clubs winning the 5 finals. We had 2 matches that were won by teams in a losing position on the last play of the game. They went long distance and scored winning tries. And what struck me is the losing teams were South London Storm and Staines Titans. And anybody who's in sport would be devastated at playing so well and losing with the last play of the game. But the coaches were incredible, just incredible. And it's Ben Cremant at South London Storm and Chris Reynolds at Staines, and both of them behaved with such dignity and courage, really, and insisted that their players lost with dignity and the right way. So it's not exclusive to Medway, I promise you.
And I was going to say, I don't know whether you'll be able to answer the question, but you do really well as a club for profile in terms of the work that you're doing. Is there a secret to that? Because like you say, there are other clubs that are doing, equally good work to push the game of rugby league, but it does seem like the name Medway often crops up when people look for an example of an area where, rugby league is successful away from the heartlands. I mean, is there a key to that?
No, there's no one key, Ian. There's several keys. We have a really strong set of values which are very consistent, and we challenge each other, and we insist on the best all the time. There's that. Hard work is another one. That's another great value of the club, and when you think you've got it right, we'll find a way of improving that. We have a clear vision of what we want to do and where we want to go, and people understand that. We communicate very well. We have great relationships with the council, a great relationship with the media, people like yourself. And when people come to our club, we make them as welcome as we possibly can. For example, the visitors get the best dressing rooms, which some people find a little odd. But hey, we if a team comes to us and they're short, we give them our best players. And that, some people struggle with that as well. But, we've lost games by loaning, high quality Dragons players to the opposition who's going to beat us. Hey, it's just about kids playing football.
It's fascinating, to be fair, listening to sort of how things run at Medway, Martin. But another aspect, another question, another thing that always crops up, or it does since last year, whenever this game at Gillingham is played, it's that conversation as to, will the Broncos move to Gillingham? Is that move still on? Is it still a goer? I know that you'll say that in terms of the Medway Dragons, you're not part of that decision. It's all about Broncos and Gillingham itself. But I mean, is that deal possibly still on?
I'm sure it is, and I think the Broncos are in a position, and I don't have any inside knowledge, but I know they're looking at all the options. Gillingham is a viable option. If you're asking me a personal opinion, or if I wanted to put a bet on it, I'd say no. I think it's London which is the key. It wouldn't help the Dragons. We have our own aspirations to play professional rugby league at some stage. We're doing well. We've played. We're unbeaten so far with our men's team, and the team that's been starting, 11 of those players have come through our junior system. We're so proud of that. And then another 5, 6, 10 years, if we can continue with our great foundation that we're building with juniors, we can start to follow in the footsteps of clubs like Scholars, and begin to climb the pole. I don't think there are any shortcuts to that. Hemel have gone professional, but Hemel have been treading the path since 1980, and I've got an awful lot of hard yards, Hemel, and now is their time and they're taking it. I don't think it'll be 33 years for Medway Dragons, but I do think it'll be several years before we can begin to think about that.
You've always done things very sensibly, though. You say 5, 6, 10 years. Is that a realistic thing? Again, you're not going to put a finite number on it, but do you think within that time you could well be in a position that you might well end up playing in Championship 1 or its equivalent?
The commercial side is the key, and I've the privilege to work for 2 fantastic organisations. I have an understanding of how important the commercial element is. Rugby league's very emotional, and we love it, and there's a passion, and that can blind you sometimes. For me, the heart of Medway Dragons is this community element, and we can't break it. And there's a danger if you pursue the end of the rainbow, if you like, with professional football. Yeah. You'll lose the thing that got you there in the first place.
Yeah.
So, I'm delighted we've managed to retain Mark Ruffsedge as our community rugby league coach. Mm-hmm. He's doing a fantastic job. But Mark is diversifying in the community, and he's looking hard at handball as a winter activity.
Right.
We aspire to netball section, so our wives, girlfriends, sisters, mums can be back, be part of the club whilst playing a great competitive sport on their own. And we're beginning to build strong bonds in the community. We have a great bond with Medway Council, and we understand that unity brings strength. Lots of we have good links with our Chatham Town Football Club, Medway Park Crusaders, which is a basketball team. We're beginning to build those bridges and perhaps look at shared resources in the future, like medical, media, brand, etc.
And I guess in that respect, I know that I'm probably not the first person to put this idea in your head. In fact, you may well have thought of it yourself. But if Gillingham are in a position where they like a rugby league side, they think there's value in it, when you talk about that commercial aspect and that future, surely that they see some potential, and that gives you hope that in the future, if you did go down that route, that it is a possible and viable option.
I think that's a very real part of the dialogue between Gillingham Football Club and the Broncos, in that, like all organisations, Gillingham have got a stadium to run, and they have incredible corporate facilities and run that. But if they could have their stadium making money with all their outlets and merchandising 52 weeks a year instead of maybe I guess they're running at 30 odd, 40 weeks, but with 20 odd home games.
Mm-hmm.
If they can increase their revenue, of course they would. And yes, that hasn't escaped my mind. But we have to have a strong, viable product which is able to, and we go back to that commercial element again, which is able to pay its way, begin to generate income so we can invest in the future.
Quite a long interview there with Martin Coyd, but hopefully some interesting stuff in there and some stuff for you to get your teeth into or get your ears around for this week's Rugby League Down South. As always, if you want to pass on your comments, then please do on the email rldownsouth@gmail.com, on Twitter @IanRamsdale, or use the hashtag RLDS. Now then, to the roundup of the South East Conference, and I've said each week, if you want to have your division rounded up, you want to be part of the programme, do please get in touch. In fact, I was reminded I must email Carl. Carl, if you're listening, I apologise profusely. I must email you this week and give you the details of how to get you and your division from Wales, South Wales, on the programme. But here is Tim Griffiths, though, with the roundup of the South East section.
This week in the South East Conference division, the Wheeled Warriors showed that they are ready for this level of competition, winning 44-36 against rivals the Sussex Merlins at Tunbridge Wells. In a hard-fought but fast-paced game, the Merlins took an early 6-0 lead before some hard yards from the Wheeled forwards saw them go 12-6 up after 20 minutes, before the Warriors capitalised further to take it to 24-12 at half-time. The second half saw both sides up their game and produce some cracking play, the Merlins making the most of a quick play of the ball to make the game anyone's at 24 apiece. Both sides then lost a man to the bin before trading blows again to make it 36-all going into the final stages, before several penalties given away by Sussex were capitalised on by Weald for a Tom Claridge penalty goal and a late Alex Crouch try to win the match. A typically gritty encounter between Southampton and Medway saw the Kent men win 31-24. Medway had only travelled with 14 men to the Hampshire coast, however they had the better of the first half thanks to some crisp passing and smart kicking, leading 10-12 at the break. A tough second half saw the Spitfires feeling slightly aggrieved, having been on the end of some tough refereeing decisions. Southampton fought back late on with a try from skipper Kevin Cant, however Medway sealed the points with a drop goal 4 minutes from time. Southampton also felt the cost of the day, having lost 3 players to injuries during the course of the afternoon. Elsewhere, the Portsmouth United Services Seahawks got back to winning ways with a 56-20 win over the Guildford Giants. The Seahawks running in 6 first-half tries before Guildford scored 3 early on in the second half, however Portsmouth were comfortably the victors come 80 minutes. Those results leave the table as follows. The Sussex Merlins are still top, having played 4, won 3, lost 1. With a points difference of plus 75, they're on 6 points. The Medway Dragons, Portsmouth Navy Seahawks and the Wheeled Warriors are all on 4 points, with Southampton Spitfires in 5th on 2 points and the Guildford Giants footing the table, having yet to pick up a point, losing all 4 encounters so far. Next week sees the return of the London League Cup. In a local derby, the Elbridge Eagles host the Staines Titans. The Sussex Merlins make the trip up to South West London Chargers. In a repeat of last week's fixture the other way round, the Medway Dragons host the Southampton Spitfires. The Hammersmith Hills Hoists take on the Barking and Dagenham Bulldogs. The Eastern Rhinos travel to Mudshoot Uncles. And the Beckenham Bears host the Greenwich Admirals. For Rugby League Down South, I'm Tim Griffiths.
More from Tim over the next few weeks and months, and finally here on Rugby League Down South, an interesting chat I had with one of the girls playing in the female varsity game on Monday. Had a tweet from Cambridge Uni RL on Twitter. They're at CUARLFC. if you want to follow them as it is. So that's at, and then the acronym of Cambridge University Amateur Rugby League Football Club. They're saying the only student women's rugby league game in the South is taking place next Monday between us and Oxford. Any chance of a feature in rugby league down south? Of course, happy to help out. Tia Knight is going to be playing for Cambridge. As you'll hear, she and the others are quite fresh to the game, but it is interesting to hear what they think of it, why they play it, and how this game could be the early stages of another great annual rugby league fixture. Here is Tia Knight of Cambridge University Women's Rugby League side.
Our match on Monday is in Oxford. So we're playing. Well, it was organised quite spontaneously because it's only been going really since last year, and before that a few years. So we had a break basically as well. So it's really nice to start this again because we usually I play with Union. And most of the team do as well. And we have official coaches to train us for that, and it's really nice being taken on by sort of the men's team, the rugby league men's team, because they've been really committed to it, and they've come sort of every session and really taught us from scratch because it's such a different game. Yeah. So I think Monday is going to be very interesting because it's the first time for quite a few of the girls who's never actually played rugby at all, except for touch rugby. Right. And then it's also the first time for us Union players to play league, which is something that I've never actually heard of it before I went to see the men's rugby league varsity. So I think Monday's going to be a really exciting day from that point of view, from the point of view of the players that have been kind of thrown in the deep end, really. So
you've only just recently heard of rugby league?
Sorry, did you say how recently? Or?
So you've only just recently heard of rugby league, is that right?
Yeah, it is because I grew up in a family where my dad's a really big fan of rugby union, and so I've watched it since I was a very young girl, and then it's only when I came to university that I really heard about rugby just through a friend who's part of the team, because the team is much smaller than the rugby union team for the men's side. So it's really just through the people I know. I've got a few friends on the team, and it's just really through playing it that you become aware of how different it actually is, and it's really interesting.
And what have you made of the game of rugby league compared to playing rugby union?
I actually think it's much more violent.
Really?
It sounds a bit silly, but I think it's because the contact is different and it's a much faster pace. So it's, I think that I was surprised at how different it was to rugby union, and it's just really different strategies, different ways of playing the ball, and I think that the roles are less defined as well. Forwards seem to take it in, and that's their role, but then everything else seems to sort of blur because you don't have any ruck, you don't have anyone sort of scrummaging and things like that. So.
And so how have you found sort of trying to assemble a team and to get a side together for a varsity game?
Sorry?
How have you found, has it been difficult to get together a team to play the varsity game?
Well, it has actually, and it's a real shame because it's exam term, and so people are less connected, as it were, because they respond less to their phones, to the sort of Facebook and things like that. So it's been really difficult to get a full team out. We've had about 8 people regularly come to training, and that, as I said, that's been really good because it's people who haven't necessarily played rugby at all before. So it's been nice to get them really in the game and sort of learn new skills. But it has been really difficult, and we haven't actually had a training session with the whole team yet. So that's hopefully will come before Monday. But
and do you know much about Oxford and sort of their preparations and their team? I mean, have they had one going for longer, or is that a recent development for them as well?
I think it's a recent development as well. We know very little about their team except what we know through our rugby union varsity. Apparently last year they were quite a fierce team, but it was quite a tight game. So I think they'll be in a similar position to us because they have exams at the same time as well. and people do their finals and who can't necessarily commit to training regularly. So I mean, I wonder how the game is actually gonna pan out, because it could be something that's much closer to rugby union than rugby league, really.
And
so it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, and you said that you went to see the men's varsity game at the HAC, was it, earlier on this year? What did you make of that?
Well, it was really the very first time I'd watched anything. I'd watched rugby league at all, and I'm always very surprised at how different it is, and it's much faster paced, and I think it's the sort of tackling as well that's so different, and because it's very much like a one-on-one, and so you can see the whole breakdown and sort of keeping player on the floor for the whole 3 seconds, and then also just having 3 people come into the tackles. Well, their tactic was bringing 3 people into every tackle. Yeah. So, committing quite a lot of the people, quite many people on the field to that one tackle. So, I mean, it was really interesting just to watch, because it's such a different dynamic. Yeah. And really, fast paced.
And you're looking forward to Monday, I guess. Your first real game of rugby league.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm also quite nervous. We'll have to see how it comes and how it goes. And I think it'll be a really nice thing to do, just because the exam time's quite hectic, and just to get out of Cambridge and see what it's like to really engage on this in foreign territory, really. Completely new sport on a new ground. So. And it'll be interesting to see how many of the Oxford players we've actually played in our varsity. So I wonder how many they'll have who we've already played.
So best of luck to Tia and all the Cambridge side, and also to the Oxford side as well. We'll let you know how the game goes and the result in the programme here on Rugby League South, Rugby League Down South next week. And that's it then. Thanks once again for listening and downloading and distributing and telling all your friends and telling all your friends to listen. Comments, as I say, anytime during the week on the email rldownsouth@gmail.com, on Twitter @Ian Ramsdale, or use the hashtag RLDS. Hope to catch you next week. Thanks for listening.